And we're live? Oh, wonderful. Hey guys, so we are here as usual on a Tuesday morning, Monday evening to talk about games and game stories. A few things have sort of hit the newswire in the past week or so. We're going to cover some of them today. On my side of the story, we're talking about the game Ball X Pit, and that reminds me so much of the very first like pinball games that you got the early Windows games back in the day. Like I miss pinball. Pinball was awesome back in the day. I feel like the only time you hear about pinball these days if you see like those retro pinball cabinets. I'm also talking about the game Fellowship, which reminds me of the very first WoW beta I played maybe more than 10 years ago. I'm so sorry. The seasons are changing and my allergies are changing too. On Adam's side of the show, we're talking about the Taiwanese horror game Suffocate, which looks very freaky, which so I'm not going to look at it that website or Steam link again, but Adam's going to talk about that and the potential for a Dead Space 4, a game I wanted to play, but I don't think I will. And as always, in the end, if you have ideas or comments about today's discussion, questions, let us know. Adam's going to be talking about skill trees, your favorite skill trees in games, and the other question, which I totally forgot, is what are hidden gems that you've truly enjoyed? And I'm going to turn off my irritating nose now. Adam, tell us about Suffocate. Sounds really cool, and I like that idea. I would love. Oh my God, I just thought about this. And as it'll be like, ooh, how many days now? 3 and 5, 8 days until I'm unemployed, and I'm like, oh, what would be the perfect next game for me to make or play is to make a Taiwanese farming game, like out in the mountains of Pingtung or somewhere like that, right? Like, and you're a farmer and you make a farming game set in Taiwan. That would be awesome. I mean, that would counter all this Asian love of horror games. But the question what I wanted to ask you, Adam, like I think we've seen, I think gaming wise, like culture wise, you could argue in the West, or I should say, since we've been alive, you've had English-based franchises, right? Like the Mario games, that sort of stuff. I mean, or Final Fantasy stuff. And I guess it's not really English-based, but maybe it's most popular. I mean, with the population-wise, right? English is the language, right? But like, how could Taiwanese games become more popular? Like you see a K-pop wave, or like Stellar Blade did for Korean RPGs, right? Like, what do you think Taiwan horror games could do? I mean, maybe not even horror, but like, yeah. I mean, I think you get what I'm trying to ask. Yeah, and I think, my first instinct when you said quality, I was like, yeah, I guess quality wouldn't even have to be graphical quality. It would just have to be like a really, really good game that's well received, that's well reviewed, that people are like, yeah, you've got to play this game like a Stardew Valley, right? Like I saw someone did like what is that really famous 2D explores game like Terraria, but there's a new version of Terraria that someone sort of taken a different take on called Necess, which just came into version 1.0 like this week. I mean, that will never equal Terraria. I mean, it just came out of early access, right? But it did really well for its first week. So you need something that's really going to stand out. Doesn't have to be graphically amazing, but something that's going to draw in the crowds. And then you have to keep doing that, I guess, like the Japanese did, right, with all the franchises that they had, like you said, the Final Fantasies, right? So yeah. And I mean, when I was trying to process this thought, I was like, yes, you've got a lot of these Western franchises, right, from back in the day, like the Dooms, right, like the Civilizations from the early 90s. And you had all the stuff the Japanese were making, and then you literally had nobody else. And then there is no number two in terms of franchises, right, we can think of in the world. There's all this free stuff at the moment, right, with what Nexon does. But even then, like, that's still a minority. There's the PUBGs, there's the Free Fire stuff. But even still, right, like that's not setting the world ablaze like a Fortnite did, like Stellar Blade did, like, yeah. So it's, yeah, no. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there. And I think we also, um, Taiwan would need to have like a positive impact on gaming as well. Like I would say Genshin Impact had an impact on gaming, it's definitely somewhat positive. A game of that quality available for free to people, wonderful. But at the same time, there's still quite a large negative morass associated with the game, and I think, yeah, we'd need a single player, not even maybe not even a single player, but like some sort of game that is largely positive, without some of the negative connotations like you had with the Fortnite and kids spending thousands of dollars on their parents' credit card, or like a lot of these Roblox games as well. I mean, maybe that comes part of the success, right? Like Taiwan gets a successful game, but the negativity comes part of it, maybe. Yeah, no, no, I totally get that. Like, I mean, on The Witcher, I think it was much more of a niche thing in a sense, in that like The Witcher was within the gaming community. Yes, we love this game, but if you talk to, like I would say, like I heard this amazing analogy of like what's the difference between a casual and a hardcore gamer. It's like people like us and you and me, right? We make hardcore gamers make time to game. Casual gamers game whenever they want, right? Um, and I was like, oh, that's so true. So I mean, you going off that definition, right? Like casual gamers didn't care about The Witcher, and I think compared to like a Genshin Impact, Genshin Impact didn't really doesn't portray anything, right? But like, um, but going back to the point, it was like people were interested in, in K-pop, and K-pop had the music. K-pop had now has the TV shows, animated and real TV shows as well. And I think it's you got to have a multifaceted approach of creating this. Like, yes, everywhere you go, you have uh, Korean culture and that sort of stuff there. And I think that is where, I think when we first moved here, I felt like Taiwanese dramas were really, really good, but it was just Taiwanese dramas. There were no music, there were no animated cartoons, there were no video games. And I think if you can do it all together, that has definitely a higher chance of encouraging people to visit Taiwan. I love like there's some good dramas on Netflix. Yeah, yeah, no. That's fine. I mean, they've done that before. Like people copy each other. I think it's fine. You just gotta have put your own spin on it. I'll give that to the wife. All right. As much as you and I could talk about Taiwan forever, I'm gonna move on to my very short story, so we can go on to your longer story. So a cool game that I just saw, and this popped up on a YouTuber I watch, who's a variety YouTuber, plays a different game all the time. I should say he doesn't play a game more than 3 times in a row. But it was Bull X Pit, and I was like, okay, this looks cool. So what if Geometry Wars and Vampire Survivors had a chaotic baby and it was actually good? So this is what Bull X Pit is about. It's already in Steam's top 100, which is literally how I found out about this game. Well, I should say it's the second way I found out about this game, because I had already watched some on YouTube, and I was trying to find a game for the show. I'm like, okay, oh, it's also top 100. Let's talk about it today. So you control a bouncing ball trapped in a pit filled with endless waves of enemies and projectiles. It's pure bullet hell chaos. Again, if you're familiar with Vampire Survivors or other games similar to it, there's quite a few like it. You kill stuff, you get a small reprieve in the action where you're like, okay, choose an upgrade. You choose an upgrade, and you keep killing stuff, and you keep going. You're going for that high score. You're going for something, I don't know, whatever you're looking for, right? So instead of shooting, your momentum and positioning become your main weapon. Every rebound can mean survival or death. And again, if you're watching other videos, even the video I shared with Adam today, right, you can see it's about bouncing, that sort of like pinball-like thing, hitting enemies, that sort of stuff. You can earn upgrades and modifiers between runs, adding depth and long-term replayability. Again, that's one of the cool draws of these kinds of games, that like Vampire Survivors, I mean, beyond the $1 or $2 price or $5, again, depending on the platform, right? It was just so replayable. So many options, so many choices that you could do in the game. I would say this is also like somewhat of a good looking game. And let me pause while I drink some water. So this is somewhat of a good looking game that, like, compared to like Vampire Survivors, where things look like it's still a pixel art style, but I think it looks better than Vampire Survivors or other sort of similar games. And if you look at the reviews, right, people are like, yes, you know, really cool controls. And when you restart or when you die, right, it's quick. You're not waiting. There's no, oh, you died, and some sort of story exposure, that sort of stuff. You just right back into the action. Again, because it is pixel art, and some pixel art games do require high requirements in terms of your PC. It does run on lower end PCs, which is also wonderful. But yeah, Bull X Pit already available right now. If you've played it, let us know down in the comments. Otherwise, put it on your wish list. Pick it up for some time when you're in the mood to play, that sort of thing, and let me know what you think.
Yeah, I haven't played a game like this in a while. It looks kind of like what is it? Bubble Battle, Bubble Boggle.
Yeah. Oh, Bubble.
Bubble. Yeah, the 2 little dinosaur dudes, and they're just kind of like cranking. It reminds me of that, which I always enjoyed those games. Yeah, I've always liked that sort of thing. So, yeah, it's fun.
You know, when I first saw it, I'm like, this reminds me of that, like, I still kind of think about it, Space Wars or something on Windows 95 or Windows 98, that first pinball game we got. And I'm like, okay, cool. So it's on my wish list. When I'll play it is another story, as always, because next week starts Outer Worlds 2, and I still have a bad feeling I'll be grand bazaring for at least another 2 weeks or more. But beyond that, anyway, Adam, tell us about the potential for a Dead Space 4.
Yeah, so there is a chance we could get a Dead Space 4. Nobody knows for sure. But basically, we all know that EA is being sold or being bought, right? And so a while ago, I guess, Glenn Schofield, who was one of the co-creators of the original Dead Space, he was calling EA and he was saying, hey, you know what? I have some ideas for Dead Space 4, but get this, if you guys hand over the models from the Dead Space remake, I can save you $30 to $40 million. So basically, he was like, okay, you know, if you can hand over these assets, that can save us a lot of work. I can save you $30 to $40 million, and we can make Dead Space 4. Let's do this. And EA was like, no, that's not going to happen. You know, I mean, we got the Dead Space remake. It did fairly well, but apparently not well enough for EA, because they were like, no, we're not going to do Dead Space 2 remake, which is really a shame because a lot of people were looking forward to that. But anyway, now that EA is up for sale, that means that there's new management or new ownership. So Glenn Schofield's saying, you know, now that there's new you know, now that I would be contacting new people, there is the possibility, and I am making calls, I am trying to get this off the ground. There is the possibility we could do a Dead Space 4. Beyond that, one of the things that people are talking about with this, not really an acquisition, but this buyout, is that it is extremely expensive and they will be losing money on this. So one potential way to get back that money is to sell off IPs, which means that if one of the IPs that they sold off are Dead Space, because it seems like the IPs that they're more interested in are more of the sports IPs, you know, I guess they call it FC now, it's not called FIFA anymore. But you know, those are more the IPs that they really wanted out of this acquisition. So things like Dead Space, BioWare, a lot of people are thinking BioWare might be on the chopping block to be sold off or whatever. But anyway, if Dead Space is sold to somebody else, that again opens up the possibility that somebody else might actually want to do something with it. So he's very hopeful. Now there is a bit of there is a bit of a grain of salt here. Schofield is also the guy who created Callisto Protocol, which a lot of people were really, really excited about because they're like, oh, it's the guy from Dead Space. This is going to be like another Dead Space type game. Didn't do well. Metacritic score is 69 and the user score is 6.8. So it didn't have the best rollout. So, you know, will Dead Space 4 be an amazing game? Who knows? A lot of people weren't happy with Dead Space 3 either. The way they kind of split the protagonists and that sort of thing. And also, Schofield was involved with the first Dead Space, but not Dead Space 2 and 3. So, who knows? You know, would he be jumping off from that Dead Space 3 platform? Probably. But yeah, who knows? Maybe we can be looking forward to a Dead Space 4. Maybe not. A lot of those things in the, you know, with EA are up in the air right now. Obviously, like we mentioned, BioWare, some of their other IPs like Dead Space. The Sims is another one. I see a lot of people talking about, you know, what's going to happen with The Sims. Are they going to continue with EA, or are they going to be sold off, or is Maxis going to buy themselves out, kind of like what Bungie did at one point? Which personally I think would be amazing. I think it would be great to see The Sims just go straight Maxis again. Hopefully, we wouldn't be getting all this nickel and diming, which would be fantastic. But yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think there's a good chance that we could see a Dead Space 4 in the future, or do you think this is just a pipe dream that'll never come to a fruition? Let us know in the comments what you guys think.
So a few things from my side, like I was listening to a podcast last week, Thursday, when I was biking, and they mentioned part of this $55 billion deal is $20 billion in debt. So what Adam said about them selling the IP totally makes sense. And definitely from the Saudi perspective, right? Like, yeah, like sports, right? People are crazy about sports in the Middle East, especially soccer. I mean, that's why they were hosting the World Cup, and there was all that controversy about, you know, the immigrant labor and the conditions that they had to endure just to get the World Cup up and running for the Middle East, that sort of stuff. So there's definitely that issue. And then, you know, people are worried, and I'm worried as well about, you know, some of the franchises that have allowed, you know, LGBTQ stuff under the Saudis. So yeah, and there is also the, you know, going back to the Dead Space thing, bringing it back, is the Callisto Protocol was interesting because, I mean, I looked at it, I'm like, that looks really cool. And then I heard Adam talking about, or Antoine talking about it at one point. It's like, man, Corinne, this is too hard for you. You won't enjoy it. I'm like, okay, sure. And I never tried it anyway. And it's interesting. Like, maybe with the new owners, they will agree to that sort of stuff. But yeah, maybe I mean, it is. And going back to what we were talking about before about Taiwan, right? It's like the Saudis have realized, right, which is why they've gone big into games, that like, yes, they can't rely on all revenues, right? They're diverged into gaming. The comedy show stuff that they had about a month ago, Bill Burr was criticized for that. And again, my opinion, not middle-aged gaming, so Adam's opinion, I think rightly so, right? Like, and it makes sense, right? You need to build your income. If you're a state like Venezuela, like Saudi Arabia, like Nigeria, with the amount of electric cars, even though some countries have said like, yes, we're going to slow down the electric rollout, but it's still eventually there is not going to be a single gas car in the world, right? Oil is going to be used for plastics, and even then, plastics are super bad. So it's gaming is definitely changing. I definitely hope for another Dead Space 4, because it is a huge franchise, even though I've never played at some point. But I think, it is one of those historic franchises that people should experience. I'm not surprised EA doesn't want to make another Dead Space with their crazy focus on online games and that sort of thing. Like, well, we had the AWS outage yesterday, right? And people were saying, like, look at all these EA games that we can't play because you had to be online to play them, right? Which is kind of terrible. So, yeah.
Yeah, going back to the soft power thing. Apparently, yeah, they're really pushing with games to get soft power out. What was it? I was reading something and they were talking about Fatal Fury, which most people probably know, but if you don't, is a fighting game, kind of like Street Fighter. Fatal Fury is adding, I think it was Ronaldo as a character, and it's like, you're adding a soccer player as a character in your fighting game, a real person fighting against these kind of super ninja style people that can jump 3 meters in the air. Yeah, so that was just kind of like, to me, it was like, that's a weird choice. But it's because he's, he's on their teams, and I guess they own him now. And so they wanted to kind of push that. And to me, it was just like, that is such a bizarre choice. But but they're trying to push that soft power.
I heard that in the same podcast as well. Is yeah, about that whole Ronaldo in Fatal Fury, because the Saudis bought the company, one of the companies that owns the Fatal Fury franchise. I'm like, oh wow.
Yeah, they buy the company. I thought they just bought like a huge chunk of shares, but yeah, they're buying a bunch of shares and a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, and but then again, like, are we seeing? I mean, will we be seeing a bunch of people kind of like, will Saudi culture? I don't know, Saudi pop. Are we going to be seeing a bunch of movies coming out of there and stuff like that, and they're going to be super popular, or is it just going to be they're going to be making a ton of money, but they're going to be working in the background? We're not even going to really notice them. Hard to say.
It's probably going to be the second option. I mean, two things there as well. I think the US was still talking about not approving the sale, and the third thing, I just saw this on the news. Maybe this is the first domino in the Saudi takeover. Sims Mobile is shutting down.
Who?
Yeah.
No,
The Sims Mobile?
Oh, Sims Mobile is shutting down. Yeah, no, I heard that, but I don't know how popular Sims Mobile.
I mean, I remember, because I looked at this on the iOS store at one point when I was like looking for like a game to play, and I remember this was pretty popular. Like, again, you're looking at reviews wise, Sims Mobile.
Because also the idea that Project Renee, the new
That's
one,
422,000 reviews, dude. That is more than most Steam games. That's more than a lot of like premium buy to play games. That's not more. Like, I mean, that's a huge audience right there.
Because the new Project Renee, the not Sims 5, is supposedly supposed to be multi-connective kind of idea. So the idea is that one might be on mobile and on console. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's part of the Saudi buyout or what. I don't know. I've read I saw the headlines for Sims Mobile shutting down. I didn't. I don't know the details.
No, I mean, I didn't read it. I just saw the chat and I'm like, wow, because I knew this was probably the most reviewed free-to-play game. This is more than Genshin Impact, more than Honkai Star Rail, because I've downloaded both on my phone and tried them out. So that's impressive.
Not have expected that.
Yeah, no, I mean, like the last time I looked at it was like 300,000, and there are like 422,000 reviews, and like 5 stars on stuff. And again, this is like bots and stuff in the mix for sure, but it's still like it happens with a lot of games, and you take everything in aggregate, I would even bet it's definitely not number one, because I'm pretty sure something stupid like Candy Crush or Bejeweled is probably number one in terms of mobile gaming, in terms of total reviews. But of an actual game, okay, this sounds so horrible to say, but like a game that you could probably play on your computer, which also could be Bejeweled or Candy Crush. I'm not going anywhere with this, but yeah, it's impressive with 422,000 reviews.
Yes.
All right, lots of sidetracks today. Back on track, so we talk about another short. So this is a really cool game. So it is like Deep Rock Galactic met Dark and Darker. Fellowship is turning co-op dungeon crawling into one of Steam's hottest new hits now. It's hot depending on the kind of person you are. Again, you look at this game. I've followed this a bit online. I've watched different YouTubers play like early access content about it. It looks cool. Like the idea of it is cool. Graphically speaking, this might turn off some people because it does look like WoW when it really started more than 10 years ago. So despite it being unfinished, Fellowship, again, another top 100 game when I'm looking for things to sort of suggest to you guys to check out or keep on your wish list. This is like number 80 something when I looked at this on Sunday. So up to 4 players. Venture into procedural dungeons, collect loot, fight their way out alive, risk and reward every run. The cool thing about this, even though I did mention Dark and Darker, right, is there is no PvP, at least from what I read anyway, right? I could be wrong there, which is nice. So it's just 4 people going to do dungeon stuff, and you don't have to worry about being destroyed by some other people. Like I played Dark and Darker with my older brother, and I will play this with my younger brother because he's into this stuff, but my older brother really hates PvP with a passion. Like he feels it's wasting our once a weekly brotherly gaming time because it's so easy to get destroyed by more experienced players because again there is no skill-based matchmaking in Dark and Darker or other similar games like that. It's just sort of like a free for all. Like if you make it out, wonderful. If you don't make it out, okay. You can choose from several roles, each with unique abilities and encourage real teamwork and coordination. And again, it's that holy trinity of tank, DPS, healer, is the Holy Trinity, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. Again, I have not played a game like this in probably 10 years. I think was the last MMO I played was 𝙎𝙬𝙢𝙚. So again, you've got melee range, magic combat, faster pace. It looks really cool and really fun, and I like the idea of again, this might be again for some people. Like some people don't like the let's just go dungeon crawling and chat and fight and that sort of stuff without any real objective to the game, right? It's just sort of getting better loot, killing more monsters, and do it again and again and again and again and again and again until you've done all the possible levels of dungeons with ultimate dead level dungeon, whatever you want to call it. I don't know how they classify it in the game yet. So, and again, this is another thing that I've heard from other, and usually older gamers. I don't think I've heard this from someone, in their 20s or 30s just yet, but it's like, I want a game with an end, right? Because I want to play this game, do 25 dungeons and say, okay, I finished this game, on to the next thing, right? I've seen discussions, and again, and met people online and coworkers and friends of friends who sort of say like, yeah, no, I don't want to play Void Crew because there is no physical end, or I don't want to play a game like this. That's something to take into account is with your gaming group, right? There is no official end in Fellowship, right? It is also an early access, so they're still making it. So that's something that you should talk about before you buy the game or bring it up with your friends. Like if somebody wants a game with an end, this is probably not it for you. But still at the same time, like I would love to play this with my brothers. We're currently playing Palter Lost Colony at the moment, which is like a very similar to Void Crew, but that game has an end. And then we're going to play Warhammer 3, and then then it's my choice after that. So I might consider Fellowship as a possible title for that. But yeah, check it out right now. Available on Steam. It's got that typical early access price. I believe it's under $20. Don't quote me on that. If you have played it, if you have followed it, let me know what you think down in the comments.
Yeah, like you said, it looked like WoW, and that was my first thought. I was like, this looks like old school WoW. And then I kind of forgot about it. And then they opened up the character UI, and I was like, wait, no, this looks a lot like WoW. And then I started noticing the little icons on the ground for AoEs, and I'm like, is this built on the WoW engine? I don't know. Like, it does really feel that way. But yeah, no, it looks interesting. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, I mean, Void Crew doesn't have a definitive end, but I mean, in theory, you're what? You do 4 missions, then you fight a boss, and then that's the end of that pilgrimage, and then you start a new one. So I mean, it's kind of like I guess it's like a difference between a soft cap and a hard cap. There's like a soft end, right? Like Helldivers is kind of the same thing, right? You go into the mission, you beat the mission. Okay, you know, like you can always do more missions, but you know, it's good if you're like, oh, we got 20 minutes, you know, let's pop in, do this, and then we're done, you know. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a problem with a game that doesn't have a quote unquote definitive end, but yeah, I wouldn't want to do like a dungeon that just extends forever. Be like, okay, I want to be able to complete the dungeon and then do a different dungeon. But yeah, no, it looks interesting. Yeah, yeah, and I think it's one of the things too is if you're somebody who's older like us and you've played the stuff like that, these graphics are not. You're gonna be fine, you know.
And no, I agree. I think for some people, I mean, it's the same thing with like a Hades game where I can imagine, not even I can imagine, I know a handful of, not more than a handful of people, just like they'll never play Hades game because to make it to like the third boss and then die and start all the literal way from the very first stage or very first area, have to make your way all the way again to the third boss, which would guarantee to take you plus 2 to 3 hours, you know, at least, is just off the books. And I think my younger brother was the same. Even no, I'm pretty sure he finished like a Dark Souls game. Oh, he finished not a Dark Souls game. He did finish the original Dark Souls. I remember. So I'm not sure, but anyway, let's move on to today's questions. And I'm going to start with the question I want you to answer. So it's going to be an additional question. So the Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy's director said Rebirth wasn't too long. You're just too busy. Tell me, sir. You're on mute.
Sorry. That's just corporate speak. I mean, come on. You know what you're saying there. It's deflecting. Oh no, the problem isn't me. The problem's you know. Yeah, if everybody's too busy, or if the vast majority of people are too busy, maybe you didn't, you know, like you didn't create a good you know, yeah, no, that's to me that just sounds like deflecting. That they were, you know, because then immediately afterwards he says, oh, but we're gonna make the next one more concise. So it's like, if you're making the next one more concise, you know, if the problem is us, that we're too busy, and the problem is not the game, then just make the game the same thing. But if you're changing the game, that means that there was something that could have been improved on. And if you're making it more concise, that means that the amount of content that was spread out across the game could have been improved on by making it more concise. So to say the game wasn't the problem, you were the problem, it's just deflecting. I think now I think there was a lot of great stuff in there. I just think that, yeah, they added too much, and a lot of it was, if you wanted to get a lot of the stuff, like if you want to add side quests and side mini games into them, you know, and you do one mini game and it's done, and it's like, okay, if you want to hit a high score, you can continue doing it. That's fine. But for a lot of content, it was like, okay, you got to not only beat this mini game, you got to beat the mini game and then beat the hard version of it and then beat 3 different levels of it. And I think that was kind of where the line was. If it was more like, oh, hey, we got this Chocobo Glider game, you do it once, great. And then if you want to do it more for a high score or something, but it's not like going to change the game, it's just there to play, I don't think anybody would have complained. I think it was just the fact that they locked so much content behind it, and people that want to access that content gotta do it.
I remember you mentioning the minigame stuff. That's why I saw this story. I'm like, oh, we've got to ask Adam about it.
It's so much, and it's so long, and it's just like, yeah, it got to the point where just you could completely ignore it. So I mean, in that sense, yeah, you can completely ignore it if you want to. But a lot of people want to get that ultimate weapon, or want to get that item, or want to get that trophy. And so, when so for a lot of people, it's not optional. I mean, because by that definition, playing the game is optional. I didn't have to play Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I could have played something else, right? So, so the entire game is optional, but yeah. It's to say like, yeah, just saying, oh, it's not that there was too much content, or that content wasn't well managed. It was that you just don't have enough time. But we're going to adjust that for you. It's like, so you don't think it's a problem? Why are you adjusting it?
Gotta agree with you there. All right, moving on to the dedicated questions for today. If you're watching the live stream, now is a good time to write your answer down in the comments. And then what are some hidden gems that you truly enjoyed?
I got so many. I could make like 10 shorts just on each individual one. Um, so first of all, I'm gonna say Dust Divers 1 and 2 because they're Taiwanese, and I love Dust Divers and I love Taiwan. So you should definitely check out Dust Divers. But the one that I think I was just listing a bunch of them, and the one that I think I've probably heard other people talking about the least is Children of Zodiarcs. Children of Zodiarcs is a great game. It's a tactical game. You got your grid and you move your characters around. But it's really interesting because what you do is it's also a deck builder and it's also a dice game. So you get your characters. You unfortunately you only get the 3, and there's no classes, so you just have those 3. But you build the deck for them. You choose what kind of abilities that you want. What do you want them to be able to do? And then when it's their turn, you draw X many cards. I don't remember if you draw like 2 or 3 or 1. I don't remember, but you draw X many cards. You have your hand, and then you use your card. And on the card, there will be conditions to be met. So damage, or you can activate kind of special things. Like, for example, maybe you can attack again. So what you do is then you have your dice, and on your dice you have damage modifiers, and you have these little lightning bolts, which are like the special modifiers. And then some dice might have some bad sides, so there's some risk reward in there. You throw your dice. If you need 3 lightning bolts to attack again, you throw 10 dice. You get 3 lightning bolts. You get to attack again. So you're building your deck, you're building your dice, and it's a tactical game. It's a lot of fun, but I don't think enough people are talking about it.
You said deck builder right there. I'm like, oh my god, let's Google this. And I looked at the Steam reviews, and unfortunately, it is mixed 300 reviews. I released in 2017, but I guess all the people were complaining about the RNG of the game. Apparently, that it's pretty terrible.
I
that's
had
what
no
they
problem with it. But I mean, that's it. It's all dice rolls. There is a lot of RNG, but you can customize your own dice. So you can choose. You can like take a dice and you can combine them. So you can be like, okay, I want this dice to have a higher chance of rolling the special ability, or I want these dice to be a damage dice, that sort of thing. But yeah, it is all RNG, so I can understand why people don't like that. But I thought it was super fun.
I think some people come with an expectation from these sorts of games, and I think they probably weren't met, at least back in those days anyway. I mean, this is 8 years ago, so I still want to give this a try. It actually looks nice for a game from 8 years ago.
Yeah, I would say it's better than the RNG of XCOM, where you've got a gun and a guy's 2 inches away from a guy's face and a 98% chance of hitting. I would say it's better than that. And also, it's kind of interesting too, because since you are throwing the dice, like you hold a button, it holds the dice, and then you kind of shake the controller or whatever, and then you let go of the button, and the dice roll around, and you see the dice flipping. So it's not some ambiguous RNG generator in the background that's like, oh yeah, you hit the 2%. No, you can see the dice rolling, so you feel like, oh yeah, it got a bad roll. And also, I think it even allows you to, after you roll, it'll allow you to pick up some dice and re-roll those dice. I think it's like 3 or maybe as many as you want. I don't remember, but you can take dice you don't want and re-roll them. So it does a pretty good job of allowing you to kind of get what you want. I was hitting what I wanted 90%. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like.
No, that's cool. That I see it's also Steam Deck verified, of course. So this will be something for me to play on the Steam Deck.
Yeah. I got
All
a
right,
bunch of
Adam.
games on the list. I was like, oh, I have a list of so many games. I gotta pick like one. Otherwise, I'll just be like,
All right, final question for today. Best skill trees in games.
yeah, so I always like skill trees that matter in the sense that the further you go down the skill tree, the more it changes the character. Not just like a 10% buff here or there. You know, I really like it where I'm unlocking new abilities. So a tech tree that I really, really enjoyed was actually in Tribes of Midgard. And because in that, you choose your class and then your class has a tech tree. And each play session is its own distinct thing. So, you know, you can do a tech, you can go down a tree, and I don't really feel bad if I'm like, okay, I'm not going to grab that node on the tree because in the next game, I can just grab that node if I'm playing the same class. But each node, it wasn't a super long tree, but you don't have a lot of levels. I think, yeah, so you're never going to max out the tree. But each node felt important. Like, you're like, okay, this node doubles damage for if I'm doing fire damage. And then you're like, okay, well, I guess this session I'm just going to focus on fire damage. Or the same with ice. Or your construction takes half as long. Or you can teleport back to base more freely. That sort of thing. So, you know, I really thought that Tribes of Midgard's tech trees really work. And I thought they were really great. But at the same time, they reset each session. So maybe that was part of the reason I liked it. Because I could experiment around and try something new every single time.
Very cool. Sorry, I just saw a work message. Thankfully, in 8 days, I don't have to endure that stuff anymore. Thank you for that, Adam. And yes, so for sure. I guess you'll be streaming until Tuesday next week.
Unless
Tuesday?
something comes up. Kat had to go to the vet yesterday, so that's why I didn't stream.
Is Cat okay?
She's fine. Just had some diarrhea, and she's a long-haired cat, so it just got every. We just had to take her to her whole.
Oh God. Very cool. And then, yeah, I mean, how's Ghost of Yotei going?
I'm loving Ghost of Yotei. It's so much fun. Yeah, I like. I was playing. Yeah, I was playing Silent Hill F for a while, and story's really good, but the gameplay was kind of like, oh. But Ghost of Yotei, I'm like, yay! I'm enjoying everything I'm doing. I haven't actually unlocked all the weapons. I have one more weapon to unlock. I'm on my way to do it, but really enjoying it. I really like the gameplay. I really like the way that each weapon kind of specializes in its own thing. It's very much like the stances for Jin, but it feels different because with Jin, you know, basically you kind of had slightly different combos, but here they work very, very differently. Like you're attacking much, much faster, a little bit more range, or you know, you can break their defenses. I really enjoy breaking the shield guys' defenses because I can smash their shields in half. So, super satisfying. Yeah, really loving Ghost of You.
Do you think you'll finish it before you leave next week?
There's no way I'm going to finish it before I finish next week. I've only defeated 2 of the 6. I still got another 4 of the 6 to go.
Okay.
2 of them are going to be together, I'm pretty sure. You have to face the 2 together. But yeah, and there's no way I'm finishing it before I leave.
Before the new Katamari game comes out in December?
Doesn't that come out in November?
Is it November or December?
I think
don't
it's
know.
November. But no, there's no way. I mean, maybe if I had a lot of free time, I could probably finish it before Katamari comes out. But when does Once Upon a Katamari come out? Let me find out. Once. When Katamari comes out. Oh, nope. Oh, it's already out. Never mind. Came out. Oh, no, it's not already out. It's out on the 23rd. It comes out in 2 days. There's no way I could finish before then. Yeah. You're muted. I don't know what you're saying. Can't hear you.
Like, I was just looking at the Steam page. I was like, oh, October 24th. That's literally the same time as Outer Worlds 2 on Steam anyway. Yeah. and it's cheap as well. It's 1,200 Taiwan dollars to $40. That's good.
Yeah, there's no way I'm finishing for that.
Yeah, I thought it was like December or something.
I
What
thought
was
it was
the game that was
November.
coming out in December that you wanted to play?
Hmm.
Was there a game in December? I don't remember.
I can't think of it. I can't think of what's after Katamari.
Okay, that's fine. No problem. So, everyone, thank you for tuning in as always. Today was a little bit of a shorter show in terms of stories, but next week is going to be a expanded episode. So please stay tuned for that. Adam's going to be under pressure to produce 4 stories.
Yeah.
Featuring himself, and I will be doing 4 shorts, and then we'll be doing 4 Reddit discussion questions. If you have any questions you want us to discuss or talk about, or Adam to talk about, let us know. So we'll probably be talking about this. At least we'll probably have to record for like an hour and a half next week, probably to get all the 4 stories in. But we will see. So stay tuned for that, and then doesn't mean the content will stop, right? We'll still be on Instagram 7 days a week. We'll still be on YouTube 7 days a week for the next 2 weeks, but we will not be live after that week for a week, and we'll be live again on October 12th. November 12th, what am I saying? So yeah, stay tuned for next week's super duper episode, and then we will see you guys then. Thank you.